important. So today we're focusing on applications, what exactly they would do today. Okay, here, do you know like what we're doing today? What? So today is just to talk about what's happening, and this is not working. I'm sorry guys, we have technical issues, so I don't know what's the problem. I don't have some presentation. Yeah, so just do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so what we're doing is, once we got the applications, we sorted the application by topical committee, and the land use committee, as you all know, like we are responsible about planning applications and quality of place. And that's the two elements that we will review today. So for planning and quality of place, we have like planning, we have transit planning, and we have CLC or TOD planning applications. However, we have only one application today for highway expansion. So today what we are going to do is we already as a staff, so the applicants already put their own score, and the staff reviewed all the submittals and reviewed everything with what we are asking for, and then we have our own score. Either it's the same score, but we did some changes based on what we received, if it's not enough, or if it's, you know, like we needed, they provided like additional information, and then we modified the score based on that. So that's if they have any issue with any of the scoring, we can discuss it today, but it's up to the committee members here to make the final decisions. Once we have the final decisions about the scoring, we will take it to the TPC, because they are the one gonna reflect that on the funding that we have available, and they will award not all the applicants, but based on the scoring and based on the availability, and based also on the distribution, you know, of the communities, making sure that most of the communities receiving funds. And once we have that, like it will be allocated and it will be on the tip and going to the step with NDOT. So that's the process today. So today what we're gonna do is we'll start with the land use committee here, quality of place, first one, and the first application you have what I have here, we're gonna go in order. As I go in the presentation here, we will go in the same order. So the first one is the one from Cherville, Kennedy Avenue, and that's under highway expansion, and that's a tier 3. They are requesting 307,000, and the project is phase 3 of Kennedy Avenue, which will start from Oak Street to Main Street. They have previous phases already in the TEP. The first one is to Junction Road. Sorry, this one is not working, so. Working? Okay.
If I may, this is a $5.7 million application, not a $307,000 application.
Yeah, but the federal, because you have already money identified before. So that's the total is 307?
Not in this phase.
No, the Cherville that I'm looking at here, because I don't have any municipality or operator listed on the 307 on my sheet.
Do you remember the one that you sent me? And I asked about the 50%, are you providing over 20% match? It's in your application? And that's what the 20% match this amount. But the total application is 5,740. So the 1,148,000, 20% of what? It's not of the 5,740.
I think and we tried to respond to that. I think it was misinterpreted in the narrative, that table on the back.
The one you have on the back?
The table on the back showed all costs, which is about, what, $9 million or something like that?
No,
Okay,
And
but, so this number, 5,740, but the 20% match here, it doesn't match the 5 million. It's only matching 307,
I don't
as
know,
I see.
we don't know where you're coming from.
I don't know where you're coming from there.
Oh, this is a home normal, oh my god.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I've got,
No.
I've got another application.
No, sorry.
From
Sorry,
Sherrville
guys.
for 5.74.
I think I pasted something wrong here from another one. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna fix that. Okay, we're fine. Good that we haven't
We-
seen the application.
Jeff, you can
We-
start breathing again.
We are overmatched based on the maximum amount of right-of-way dollars and design dollars that we can receive.
Yeah, that's,
We're definitely overmatched on the 80-20. I have to, you know, break that down to tell you exactly how much, but, yes, the total application is for 5.7,
okay.
or 80% of that amount, 4.5 million.
Yeah, but let me just pull the application here, because we need to understand that, let me get your application. Oh, the actual application. Let me pull that,
While you're looking at that, Iman, if I may offer a little more info to the Land Use Committee. This is phase 3. 2 other phases are already approved in the spending plan and in the TIP. Well, they're in the spending plan. One of the phases is too far out to be in the TIP, but it is definitely committed to be brought in as we go next phases of that.
Okay.
This would,
The 1,148,000 is not 20% of 5,740. Is that right?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're fine with the funding, as it's listed here. I have the application here in case, we need.
Right.
Okay, so do you want me to explain the project, or you quickly wanted to explain it?
If you're prepared, go ahead.
Yeah. So we have already 2 phases on the TIP. The first one is from Junction Road, US 30 to Junction Road, as you see here. So that's the first phase, already in the TIP. The second phase from Junction Road to Oak Street. And now the new application is for this section, Oak to Main Street. So they wanted to finish the whole Kennedy Avenue.
One more bit of information, Iman. The blue square in there, that blue area,
The bridge.
the
yeah.
bridge
Yeah.
was approved by NDOT for the TRAX program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a really good project, like we're really, looking for it. So the project overview, it's already located in a level of surface for travel D, E, or F, identified in the NERC 2040 plan, and also identified in the regional corridor study as one of the 22 segments that need to be improved to improve regional transportation. And also located in, it has already significant number of crashes, and they provided all of the data and mapping to prove that. Improve connectivity between existing urban areas. Where is Kennedy Avenue, which is, if it got built and it got widening, will relieve congestion in 41 and other congested road around Kennedy. Improve connectivity to state highway system, major principles roadway, and also serve a high employment and population centers, and also they provided a map for that. So that's an overview, that they meet a lot of the criteria of the projects. The project elements, the gonna widening Kennedy Avenue from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, and maybe you can explain that much better than me, what exactly you wanna do, Jeff?
basically expand the capacity of the roadway to relieve congestion on US 41.
Okay.
This is a parallel route to US 41. It is 1/2 mile to the east. We have a traffic count on it today of around 7,000 a day. We fully expect that to jump to about 20 to 25,000 a day the day we're able to make it contiguous and through to Route 30. While the original submittals showed a CMAX score much higher than this section does, we
Across this trail or roadway alignment in other phases down, and then the town's intent also to continue the non-motorized element along with the Kennedy Avenue, to then branch out either way from the American Tennessee Greenway or the American Discovery Trail. There's also, this is an area of bad stormwater management. So, you know, a lot of you from the region are aware of the Spring Street ditch and the problems they've had, and there's a Hartsdale Regional Detention Basin. This project is intended not by design to help that, but by the design to help with the water quality of the system through there. It's a very low-lying area. It's got some important ditches that transport water to the north.
Yeah, and it has like bioswales, native vegetation,
Exactly.
retention curve, and yeah, we reviewed all of that with the criteria, which is going back to the application that you have here in front of you. Like everything we scored was, matching with what we scored. The only one was question number 5, and they scored themselves a 3, but we thought it should be 6. So that's the only changes. So the total score was 63, and we modified to 66.
Which question is that?
Question number 5, second page.
Okay.
That's-
That's on, I guess I'm still confused here, because we're looking at one that's, the cost is 307. Jeff says the cost is 5.74, and we've got another application here for 5.74. I mean, I've got 2 applications. The one for 5.74 has Cherville listed on it. The one for 307 has no municipality listed on it, no name for an applicant. So I'm just,
Where is it?
the one for 307 has zeros listed, has no names listed.
Oh.
And there's another one in my packet
No,
here.
that was the wrong one, the 307. I think when I was copying this, the amount. This one is planning for GPTC.
I think it was 307.
And that's a
is-
transit
is not
planning.
us.
Yeah,
307 is
oversight.
not us. 307 is.
So it's on the site, transit planning and administration oversight. That's NERC.
Unless we
Yeah.
suddenly have 7 sub-recipients.
Yeah, no, that's NERC application.
Yeah.
That's the one I pasted wrong in this one.
This one.
No, we have it, we're still going to
Oh,
this
okay,
one.
but that's
But
nursing.
now we are in the first page, the first application that we have here. Second page is question 5, and that's the one we modified from 3 to 6.
So what we're asking for is a total federal share of $4,592,000 plus $344,000 for right-of-way and engineering and PE. And that $344,000 is the 7% max that we're allowed to submit.
Okay.
What is the overall level of funding that we have here? I mean, what, if this is a $4 million ask, how many millions of dollars do we have allocated towards this category, this program?
The first year is not as good, like it's improving as we move, from 20 to 21 to 22, 23, 24. So But the first year is the one that is really bad. I'm not sure, where's Mitch, he was here, just, he's the one dealing with the.
Well, and to,
Yeah,
this is submitted as a roadway expansion, which falls as under the guidelines laid out by NERC in this, in the last year's work as a tier 3 project. There aren't gonna be enough dollars allocated to tier 3 to fund this at this time. But this is something that we would intend to work on with the technical planning committee and the surface transportation committee, as it is the continuation of 2 other phases that are funded.
This exercise today is just for the numbers for the scoring. And then technical
Correct.
planning comes up with the allocation. Yeah.
Is that fair, Mike? Accurate?
I've been attending a lot of these meetings with the TPC and the T-Rock, and this is the first time here, glad to meet you. But it was our understanding to submit, I don't know why it's in land use, but you probably got a reason why traffic expansion, but yet new roadways are in the SDC.
because it's affecting land use.
Understood.
Yeah, and it's already,
Well, so would a new roadway, I guess that's what I
even,
don't
you know,
understand.
like, it just to clarify something, because I got that so many times. The highway expansion is already before the surface transportation, and was still tier 3, and was scored lower than the land use. So when it moved to the land use, they had some items, you know, because of the quality of place, you know, kicked it like 2 or 3 number more. So the thing is, the 2050 plan, you know, that's the vision and the critical path about, you know, adding more roads. So this is like a different story. You know, like, I know that, we know how important, and I think, you know, like, we're already lacking money, but like, the problem is not it's a land use or surface transportation. It's already tier 3 involved. So because it's a roadway expansion.
So I guess the money thing, I guess you can't answer the question, how much is really even available by category, because I guess, doesn't that get ferreted out of TPC, like someone just said? All this does is confirm the scores and move it on to the next committee.
No, I think the staff is gonna work with the budget and then present it, and it's up to the TPC to decide on that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but that's at the next level, not
Yeah,
today.
no, not
Correct.
today.
But the commentary from today goes into consideration for the determination of the TPC.
Because we don't know how much has been allocated to this, and it's really competing against, well, judging by the applications I saw here, these other ones, you know, they're in groups of TODs and CLCs and all that. This one kind of stands on its own.
Yeah, because this one is under quality of place, which is all construction funding. But these ones are planned, which is different. I presented that in the beginning. I said we have planning applications, and then we have quality of place, which is highway expansion is under them. Any other questions?
If there were, if I may, if there were 3 highway roadway expansion projects submitted, why aren't those other 2 being vetted at this committee as well? Why were they vetted at the STC on Tuesday?
Highway expansion?
There were 3 roadway expansion projects submitted. Yet this is the only one being vetted by this committee. We're just having a little trouble understanding why we're here and not in front of the STC.
Or why the other 2 aren't here too.
Correct.
Okay, I'll check. Can you get Scott, please?
Thanks.
Okay, we'll get Scott, and till he comes, we can move on to the next one, and then we'll come back again to this.
I think we're good with our scoring, as far as the point total that we received on our submittal,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah,
I would think you would be, since we bumped you up.
Bumped up.
If you got any complaints, you know, talk amongst yourselves.
Ten more would have been better.
We didn't get any CMAQ points for it, congestion mitigation and air quality, based on the new system. We thought there was some value in there that we might have gotten another, 5 to 10 points there. We're not gonna debate that, although we would have liked to see those points as well. But we are confident that our application is submitted, with the optimum score that we can under the rules that are present with this NOFA.
Thank you, Scott, for coming. Do you have questions that, like, do you have some applications for highway expansion?
Well, and look, I'm looking at the list right now, all the projects that were scored at the Surface Transportation Committee meeting on Tuesday. The vast majority of them were intersection projects. There were some roadway reconstruction projects. I'm looking for, there was, I would say, at least one roadway expansion project that I can see in Valparaiso, but that also involved an intersection at Campbell and Lincoln Way. But they were also expanding Campbell south from Lincoln Way to Brown Street. So there was a scope that you might be able to say was an expansion project there. I'm still looking to see if I see any other obvious expansion projects.
And how it scored, the Valparaiso one?
That one scored, right now it's slated to be 83 points to the TPC, pending the TPC's final decision.
What's the total?
Actually, it's 81. It went from 83 down to 81.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Trying to see. I don't see any other obvious expansion project jumping out at me. Oh, Willow Creek Extension Phase 1 in Porter County. That one, I guess it could be similar to the Kennedy in that we
So
are.
what was the category that we submitted under?
That was a new roadway category, so it was a little bit different because that one.
New roadway is different than highway expansion.
Yes.
So those are the two that I can definitely say that we reviewed at Surface Transportation Committee that had an expansion element to them, but they were a little bit unique. Because like I said, the Valparaiso one had one of the scope was an intersection improvement as well. So it could have been scoped into multiple projects, but,
So we could have said we did an intersection improvement at Main Street, and oh, by the way, we're gonna do the rest of the road to the south.
I mean,
It's actually, you know, like with Valparaiso, it's, I remember this one now, it's a new road, because they're gonna build Campbell Street.
right, but.
They are going under the railroad to connect it to the, it's a completely different issue.
Well, and we're connecting to a road that's going over a railroad. I mean, you know, it's.
So is now your questions, do you know that your project should go as a TOD? And in this one, the study area is for Broadway, starting for all the stop, bus stops here. We would like to have like some TOD improvements along the bus stops, starting from Geary Metro Center all the way to the Methodist Hospital. For all of this one, however, you know, like if you get awarded this project, we need to talk about discussion about the scope, because you know, like we feel, you know, like this is too much, you know, like to have a good planning. Like we have some area like the University Park area, or you know, some major area that by ION or other areas that really need a good attention for the TOD. It's not just about sidewalk or you have bike way as you proposed, you know, like because you asked me to check the other applications, that what you're asking for is just have some bike lanes and sidewalks. But the TOD is all about mixed use, you know, like along the area, how to have like housing with the commercial, with the services, within the area, close to, a transit station.
Well,
And that's the TOD that we are looking for.
and we agree.
Yeah.
And, you'll be part of that planning process. When we talked about it with James, that was the idea of bringing nursery staff, and city staff, and some push here as well, if he wants, into that planning process to go beyond just the first mile, last mile elements of the bus stops include the actual development and potentially bringing in some private investment on the corridor in addition to what we've got here.
Okay.
So we're on the same page.
Okay. So they are requesting 100,000 with 20,000 match. And what we have here in the score, the score themselves, the total score that they got is 98. And then we had to modify, one was wrong, which it has to be reduced to 5. But our score here is 80. And, you know, like we have that for question number 13. So they give themselves 11, but we believe it's 0 because we don't have any scope talking about that they're gonna provide all of this safety, you know, like we're addressing safety. That's the scope I got. The one you have here, that's the only scope I got for the GPTC application.
Okay.
So, and I ask you if you would like to discuss it, you're welcome to do that, but that's the staff scope is 80
Well, right,
versus 98.
right, 80 or 80.
Yeah, one was wrong, one was supposed to be 5, that's the maximum score, and they scored themselves 10. So that's the first 5. And then the other one is the 11, which is, we believe it should be 0.
You have 7 on this piece of paper. For question 13, as it relates to how will the planning project address safety? For self, you have Gary scores themselves as 11, or GTC scores themselves.
No, it's the other Gary, it's the TOD.
Oh,
There's another
TOD,
application.
okay.
TOD, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, there's two applications from GPTC for 100 each.
Okay.
So this is, yeah, the TOD. So I'm just looking here, where's the one that scored a 10 that should be a 5?
What question was that? We probably corrected it.
Yeah, I
That's
correct.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that Q3? I think which one it was.
Q4.
Was it Q4? Okay.
Yeah, and I already corrected.
Right,
It was
yeah,
10
yeah,
before.
we corrected it
Yeah,
also. So
yeah.
can we talk
And they
about?
corrected when they sent it to me.
But we're still missing 2 points. If they scored themselves a 98 and the staff scored it an 80,
Yeah,
and there's a 5-point reduction on Q4 and an 11-point reduction on Q13, that's 16 points. So how do we get from 98 to 80?
no, so first it became 93, and then you take 11, and then we give them 2 points for other things.
What other things?
Let me just give it here, yeah. And then, you have 2 points, remember you, discussed that with me for question,
Okay. Now can we talk about 13 or what are the questions?
Yvonne, for future reference, can we make sure that we get a box that shows what the score total is? Because that would be.
Yeah, we don't have the totals on here.
Yeah, I think it's a total.
yeah,
of
that's one
something.
time we did I tried to do that, he said, don't touch it. Yeah, we don't have, like, it should be, it calculate the final score in the end and give me the total. We have to go to do the total ourselves and have it here on the side. We can do the math again, you know, like if you wanted to recalculate that, you could do it. So, yeah, somehow to do it.
That's hard, that's time.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I did it.
Well, no, it is 80, but I guess I'm still trying to figure out how it goes from 98 to 80.
Because we took 16 point out.
Right, and
Right.
98 minus 16 is 82, it's not 80. So
No,
I'm
there is
still-
another two, for sure.
Okay, I'm not,
We have it.
yeah, all.
That's their score, that's their score. Because they had two.
It sounds like the self-score was changed.
Yeah, the self-score he corrected.
Right,
That's-
so
he
the-
corrected 1.5 and 1.2.
So what you entered in here is the corrected version.
They're corrected.
So then what
So
we
then-
should really
so
say
then
is
the
not
total-
98.
The original was 98. We sent them for like 2 or 3 questions to modify. And then the only one we still having issue with is the 11. Because they believe it's 11, which is question 13. And we believe it's 0.
So the 98 was an original score.
That's the
that-
original,
That
the
they
first-
have already changed and is already, these numbers reflect those changes.
Yes.
So
So-
the sum of the self column is actually not 98.
Yeah. So, no, their new score is 91 now.
Yeah,
But
I'm
like,
getting
we have to
I'm
show
getting
the first
91.
one they submitted. That's what we have to show. The first one they submitted is 98. And they
But that's
will
not what you're
modify.
showing us. Is my concern, what you're, right, you're not showing us the original that they submitted, because you made the change where they added 10 where they should have had 5.
They made the change, not me, yeah, they made the change. So they submitted a modified application.
They amended it.
Yeah, they amended.
And that was at 93, and then there's a 2-point adjustment.
Yeah. So so the new one now is, their application is 91 after they modified, and our score is 80.
Yeah, I'm showing 91, I've done it
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah,
The self-soap score is 91.
Yes, okay.
But if the self-score is 91, then that means you lost 7 points and not 5. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion is coming in. The only area where it could have possibly been 2 other points that they would have had deducted was Q6, because that is worth 12, and on this paper it's being shown as 12. And so did Gary over allocate themselves more than enough points in one area, or is it just something with how the rubric is set up to begin with?
I'm not clear exactly. What's the question?
I'm
I'm trying to
saying,
figure out where that, which question was the 2 points adjusted on their application?
It's the original application here.
I mean, it's not adding up, and I mean, I know we keep hammering this point, but it's not adding up, because I'm with Greg on this one. 16 from 98 is not 80 points, it's 82. And I don't see, based on what you're saying, they self-corrected, based on what Nursey corrected, it's not adding up to 82 to me. And if we, if it's better, we sort this out now than we refer this to TPC, and then they're asking the same question, so it technically needs to be answered.
I'm getting the original application here. So go with me with the number, question 1, 5, question 2, 10. That's
Well,
their
question-
score,
well,
that's
question
their
one,
score,
you-
that's their score.
On the modified, question 1 is a 3.
Yeah, that's the one we discussed, the 2 points that we took out. But that's the original, the first application. If you wanted to see how the 98 came from. So the first one was 5.
Okay, well, that's fine then, no, we don't need to go any further on that, but I guess that's my concern, is when you tell me that a score is a number,
Yeah,
and you've modified all the cells in a column so that it doesn't add up to the number you tell me it should,
okay.
I'm confused.
And on the application.
Okay, I mean, I look at spreadsheets for a living.
Just to clarify.
And when the cells don't add up, I get.
Right, we did modify,
To
we modified question one, we originally gave ourselves 5 points. And then when they asked for the walk score, I did an average of all the walk scores instead of, a couple of them, and we only had 3 points. So I actually took two points away from myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the first
So,
go
so that's what we did.
Right.
So
I
that's the
forgot
first
about
2
that.
points, and then the one was wrong, so they give themselves 10, but the maximum was 5, and that's another one, which is question 4. So we took 2, and then we took 5, it's 7,
Okay.
and then we took 11, so it's 18.
So their actual self-score is a 91,
Right.
because they modified the 5 to a 3.
Yes.
And they
That's
corrected a
yeah.
mistake in a data entry point. They
Yes.
entered the wrong value.
Yes,
And so their score is not 98, but 91 on their self-score.
after they modified.
Right.
But based on the staff recommendation, it was 98 and we went all the way to 80. That's our recommendation.
Can we discuss?
They
the
accepted
discrepancy?
some and they did not accept others. So, and that's the 11 that they did not accept.
And, I thank you for clarifying that, but if they give themselves a certain score, Cherville, when they submitted their application, they didn't modify their self-score. So it would help going forward if there are notations in the committee where if instances happen like that, the committee knows that. So we understand whether it's self-amended or NERC amended it. So, because that's confusing, and even how it got explained, if you weren't specifically going through question by question, I can understand how somebody could get lost based on the total points. And that's also why I feel, once again, the total points would really help in this instance.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the self-score is meaningless at the end of the day, right? I mean, the final score is the only score that really matters.
It's, it's not like that. They were missing some data. Like when they give themselves, for question 1, they give themselves 78, and for the walk score. But when I asked for the actual mapping to map all the projects within the walking score came like as 3 points. It was 52 or 53. So that's another thing. So they submit their own, and then we have to review it with the data that we asked for, and we correct it. So for this one, and we have another one, we asked for so many questions.
Right.
We've been working on that for the last 2 weeks, asking, give them a chance to provide more data, and we review the data, and then modify the score again based on all the data that we have. Sorry for the confusion
I would say-
if about the 91, because for us, we have to get the first application, they submitted as 98, and we end up with 80. So between the
Right.
modification is 91, in the end is not gonna make a difference. The final decision is, the final score is 80. And if they wanted to have like a discussion about the question number 13, that's fine, and then in the end, we can modify our score. If the committee agreed.
But without notations and the sums and all of that, as a committee, it's, because we're coming in late in the game on these things.
Yes.
And so it's confusing, I think,
I
for all of
understand,
us
yeah.
that,
We still.
you make, you recommend changes, an organization or municipality agrees to those changes, and then you make the changes here in the document that we see, and we haven't seen the original.
Yeah.
And to get to your point, I think the self-scores are important for this committee's work, because otherwise, if all we were looking at was the NERCs, we would have to go through the process we went through a while ago, where we were asked, do we agree with, the staff scores, where in this case, if the applicant and the staff scores are constant, we can look at it quickly, and unless there's something totally questionable, we can skip on and get to the points where there's discrepancies.
Agreed. that's.
Yeah, so I think that's where these numbers are good.
In terms of whether or not there was a second submittal that modified the
Even after they're adjusted.
self-score so that it was in conform, so that it was the same as the NERC score, it doesn't really matter. And I also think that the total doesn't really matter because we're not being asked to review the total and say, well, is this an 86-point project or an 88-point project? We're supposed to be looking at the specific criteria, which are supposed to be objective, determining whether or not it has been objectively scored. And in the instances where there is a discrepancy between the two, or dispute, then we can mediate that. So I guess I'm in agreement with you, but I guess we're dwelling on this question of what's the total of this, that, or the other thing. Ultimately, the total of 91 versus 80 is meaningless to this group. We're only looking at points of dispute, and I guess it's our judgment whether or not the NERC score is objectively, is an objective reflection of what the project is going to do.
And that is persistent.
And does David agree with the NERC score based on what he scored? I guess we want to hear from you.
Well, I think.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I
we
mean,
should go to
that
that
is the
point.
next point of business, once we get this bookkeeping thing kind of straightened up, is, yeah, I would like to hear from David, I mean, forward. Because I'm sure he's not pleased to see 11 points get taken off their application, so.
Well, when we originally submitted the application, we didn't identify, for question 13, we didn't identify which elements of safety, which safety elements we were requesting points for. We just said 11 points. So when we were asked to clarify that, we provided what is provided here, identifying which elements we were requesting points for, with, improvements of crosswalks, ADA ramps if necessary, and making sure that any benches or additional shelters are universally designed. Of course, the entire Raising Dexter of the project is sidewalk and bike network gaps, and access to schools and access to transit are also pretty, part of the project's DNA. So those are the points that we requested, and what you've got here is actually our response to the request for additional information. And I was told that that wasn't a response, and that's where I've got difficulty accepting the 11-point deficit. And when I look at the other planning project, showing, question 13 for the oversight project in Nursing, they pretty much did the same thing. They clarified exactly which one of those elements they were requesting points for, and they got the points. So why was it okay for one planning application to get those points with that?
Because it's overall, that's oversight. That's the thing, that's like a planning application. And, what you provide me is you took all the words in question 13 and you added here. Oh, you need an EDA, oh, we're gonna have EDA universal design. You need a sidewalk and bicycle, oh, we're gonna have a sidewalk and network. Where is that? We don't have analysis. What's your process? What's your scope? What, you didn't give me any scope. I got from Sherrville 7 pages scope describing the project. But I got from you 1 sentence, and I have no idea about exactly. First of all, you did not provide the location, and I asked you to give me a map, and then you provided the map with all of these stops. Where is your TODs gonna go? I don't know. What exactly you gonna do with the TOD? I don't know. You tell me, oh, we're gonna have EDA accessibility, we're gonna have a sidewalk, we're gonna have, but what's your scope? What's your scope? Are you gonna identify a study area? Are you going within half a mile? Are you covering the residential neighborhood within the area? Are you performing analysis of sidewalk condition? And you're gonna have inventory of that? Are you gonna have, what kind of TOD? Do you have analysis of the land use around the area? The need, for the sidewalk? Where is the people? Where is the dead end? Where are your scope? I don't have a scope that's saying that making sure that you're covering addressing safety. I don't have any scope.
Well, Iman, I appreciate that, but on the 15th of January, you asked, please show how you're going to address safety. I added those particular elements, and I didn't get a request for additional clarification. I did get that for other projects, where they said, well, could you give more specificity on the map? I'm not sure if it was, a response to a question from Nick or a response to a question from James, but they're like, we want a bit more information than what you provided. I wasn't afforded that in this case.
I asked you to provide the narrative, and you did not provide.
This was my response, and you wouldn't allow me to clarify. You just said we don't get those points.
Because I asked you before, I need a narrative.
This is my
Explaining the
response.
scope.
This was my
This is not enough. This is not enough.
Now,
This is not the scope.
may I ask, was a narrative provided for the NERC project?
Which project?
The project for which you gave 5 points based on the information?
The oversight?
Yes.
It's the same like yours. You have planning oversight
Did
And
they,
that's-
did they provide a narrative in addition to this year?
to this one.
Did they provide a narrative in addition to the response in the actual application?
It's some points here, they could cover it, and some others not, they don't.
Right, same thing here. I didn't request points for each element in Q13, because we weren't addressing every element in Q13.
Okay, that's, like I talked about the scope, and that was, we will see, and it's up to the committee. If you feel, that like we should add more points, I will accept that.
Well, you asked for clarification, I provided clarification,
Okay?
and you didn't accept it or ask me to go into.
No, that's what I got, and,
Right.
I didn't feel like that you explaining, I don't have even exactly the study area, and what you're gonna do. So, and that was, and I asked you, can you expand the narrative, can you explain more? I didn't get that. So, and that's what you provided,
I thought what you were asking for was the specific safety elements that you were gonna be addressing with this project.
Yeah, because it should be with the narrative, explaining all of that. So that's, as a staff, that's what we see, and it's up to the members now. Greg, you can have the discussion.
Well, I guess it's up to us. I guess my first question is the timeline for this. I mean, is there an opportunity for us to table this scoring to give David time to provide more narrative if you don't feel you've been given the opportunity to provide a response? If this isn't sufficient, to give you a chance to provide the information you feel you can provide and that amount you feel you would need to then determine whether or not the value for Q13 should be 11, 0, or somewhere in between. I mean, I hate to have you stuck at 0 if you have additional information that could result in points. But I also know when it comes to these projects, you're talking about beginning in 2020. So as far as getting in the pipeline for funding and all of that, would delaying until our next meeting.
May I interject? In the other committee, what we've done in these situations is we have gone with the numbers with the opportunity for that party to bring up and satisfy, in this case, Ben, with the information to justify the points, because it has to go to the committee on Tuesday, as I understand.
I can provide the additional information, yes.
So,
That's fine, as long as I get it before the TPC.
right, Well,
And as soon as possible, we
Tuesday,
still
so we
have
have to have
internal
these Mondays.
discussion here about the funding
probably
and the,
Friday.
yeah.
Well, what I could do, first of all, it's technically kind of academic, because this project plus the.
You've got quite a few points there anyway,
Yeah,
so
plus the NERC project, I think there's, the funding's there.
I think so.
Right,
Yeah.
but what I
I
do
can't
wanna.
say that.
Right, what I do wanna do is yes, have the opportunity to respond to the additional questions. And I could just send it to the entire, land use commission, if they wanna take a look at or have any other questions as well.
That's fine with me.
Okay?
Yeah.
And with that, we can-
Well, yeah, I would say, get it to Imam and then send it out to us
Yeah.
to do a quick review, and
Yeah.
then we can
Mhm.
weigh in.
But my guess is that the points as they exist are pretty substantial.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
80,
Yeah.
that's
No,
what
yeah.
I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, so it's not like,
It's not like we're,
if I feel like,
Talking
and I
hours
told
and
you,
things.
even if you get awarded this project, we need to sit and talk about a specific scope for a TOD, because with all of these stations, you know, like maybe some area just need sidewalk, but like to have a TOD plan, like we have a specific area, like the university area, you know, like that's an area very important to have like a real TOD plan. You know, like talking about, you know, like economics, services, commercial, residential, and how to improve this area, you know, that to make it like more livable and serve really, you know, people.
More specific supporting data to,
Yeah, yeah, so.
yeah.
Okay.
But it, notwithstanding, the numbers still look pretty good, so.
Between, even though it's a plan.
It's, you know, like if we refer that here, you know, like that, like it was already addressed, and you know, like I think we're talking about, because we're not talking about Broadway itself. When we talk about TOD, we're talking about like within half a mile from the station. So the improvements is not just a Broadway. The improvements will include the surrounding area for residential or people working in this area to access between transit station and the residential or employment area. So it's not just Broadway. So it's a Broadway project, but that's what I'm looking for. I didn't get a scope exactly. Where is the area? Where is your limitation? What you're gonna do? I need to understand exactly what you're gonna do with the TOD plan. I got only one sentence.
Yeah, I think it's fair to ask for a detailed scope if you're claiming points,
Yeah, oh yeah, no, definitely.
say how you're gonna do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the detail is important, so. yeah.
Could we move the question? I think we.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
So-
is that, okay, so are we
Now, yeah,
looking then for a
fine with that.
motion to
Yeah, but
basically approve moving this forward with the opportunity for Iman to adjust the score on Q13 based on the evidence provided by David and to the committee?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
thank you.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? All right, okay, we'll move forward at that, and David will have the opportunity to supplement the application. All right, next.
So the next set of application, I provided only one because it's repetitive, but for different years. Here, and that's, we are requesting for, years 2020, 2021, 2024. It's the same scope, the same application, same amount of money. And that's to oversight of current, rapid bus and feeder surface and other original route planning. Civil rights, review, planning, outreach, and marketing. So that's what you are asking for, and we already got the scope for this one here.
Well, while you're looking at that, may I?
So 87, their score was 102.
Which plan is that in?
That's the first one. I already provided one application. But because it's all the same, I don't wanna confuse you, it's the same score, the same thing, but it's for different years. So you have GPTC, the one right after TOD, right away, the next one after.
It's got a federal, it's a total cost of $100,000 and a federal share
And
of
it has
80,000.
GPTC plan one.
Right.
GPTC plan one.
Okay, well, no, I was just confused because I'm looking at those 120, 1551 with the matches, and those don't match
Yeah.
what is on the form you gave me. The form you gave us has the total in dollars at 100, but the match at 80.
Right, because we do have different amounts, we put with a 5% escalator for each
Yeah.
year, so it's not all the same amount, it is slightly more for each year. Another request.
So I've got this application here, but it's actually the dollar amount, step one is actually different than what is on my form.
Yeah.
Was 2023 skipped on purpose?
No, that's what I was gonna request. When we originally submitted the application, we submitted a single application with all of the funding for each fiscal year in one application, and then we provided a spreadsheet showing them what fund amounts would be allocated to each fiscal year. We were asked to break that down into 5 separate projects. I missed 2023. So what I'm requesting is to, in addition to the ones here, to add a 2023 project. It's not gonna have any impact on any of the funding. We've got a $550,000 cap for transit planning in 5307. Our project plus NERC's project doesn't come close to exhausting that. So there's money left in our budget for it. We'll simply just add that 2023 project. I can press save on my computer right now to go into Mitch's Dropbox. The fund amount for 2023 is a federal amount of $92,610. Again, $92,610 plus the $307,000 Nurse was talking about is still about. We're still going to be leaving over $100,000 in our planning budget.
Okay.
For 5307. So that's what I'm requesting of the committee, if that's okay with you, Iman.
Okay.
Okay. And I guess I need an action for that one.
Okay.
To allow.
Before we go there, may I interject, I've got a message from Scott
Okay.
from the Surface Transportation Committee where there were 2 requests to review. And as I understand it, he took a look at it and said that his position was too late to increase the numbers, but it would be mentioned at the TPC.
He summarized the 2 issues, so the
Right.
TPC will
It is,
have it in front of them.
He's written a memorandum, so I don't wanna go into it, but I mean, in general, that's what it amounts to, right, Jeff?
Okay.
So, but, that's how he handled it, and that meeting was Tuesday, was it Tuesday? Yeah.
Yeah, the schedule is tight.
There was, if I could just mention, I'm not sure what the data is that's for the planning staff and Trey, I guess, to determine, but the TPC meeting notice went out, and it does have a sentence on there that says that additional data will be provided on the 8th, which is tomorrow. So anything, I'm not sure if what we're discussing today will be part of that data that will be provided.
Okay, well, this memo may be part of it.
That could be part of that too.
Yeah, because he has enumerated 2 of the issues that came up
That could be data from this committee as well as could be presented.
Yeah, there's
I'm not sure.
a paragraph on each one explaining the circumstances, and at this time, Mercy wasn't going to change the numbers, but here it is for informational purposes. For the
Okay.
TPC apparently,
Great.
the way I understand it.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay,
Let's
so-
get back to the issue at hand, which is, I guess, we're looking at
So the
the
score.
2023 first, right, which is not included here, but nonetheless,
I have it.
scoring and everything.
Yeah, which is here, number 3 is here.
And I
Number 3 is here.
No, that's 2022.
Yeah.
We've got 2023 is missing.
Yeah.
We've got a 3-year plan.
Yeah, he's missing them.
right, and I'm requesting.
I just told him that he's missing one.
Yes, well, right, which is what we are addressing right now is, but it's scored the same, everything is the same. So
Should be the
basically, all we
same.
need to do here, I think, as a committee, is to agree that we would include 2023 under this, if we approve this scoring,
I'll make a motion.
yeah, for this one, 2023 is gonna be under the same scoring.
Yeah,
So, I've got a motion from George, do I have a second?
okay, but the score is 87.
I accept that score.
Okay. Okay, so,
Well, we
We have a second.
have a motion on the floor.
Oh,
I have a
sorry.
second. Are there any questions? So we're comfortable with the score of 87 for each of these
all planning.
projects? Of
All
all of these
GTDC
GTDC?
transit planning.
Got a motion, a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye opposed? All right.
Okay, the last set of application, you have only one, which is the 307 that I think made the confusion. I was trying to copy, like the same colors. I think I replaced the first one. That's the 307. So that's NEPC transit planning, and that's the transit administration for 5 years, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Usually, we get that also from the 5307. However, with the NOFA, we had to apply also like everyone else. So, and that's the staff here or the group that doing the transit administration oversight for the 7 transit operators that we have here within the area. And I have a map on the left showing all of the providers, either, they have a regional one, they have one to Chicago, and then they have mostly local bus service. So, and that's related.
Iman, do you have an additional copy of this, because I did not receive a copy of this project
Of what?
of the NERC.
It's the 307,000, that's
I
got
don't
zero?
have
The
it.
last one,
Oh.
the one has the 307, it's in your package.
She's got a copy.
She got
I
a
have
copy.
a copy now, but I didn't have.
Oh, okay, thanks, no, sorry about that. Alright.
Okay, so in this one, the score was, that was provided 52, and as a staff, we made it 60.
I just have a procedural question. Okay, this is a NERC transplant. Who
Submitted?
Yeah, who submitted?
James.
And then who reviewed?
I reviewed it,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, whenever,
I reviewed it with him,
well, see, that's
Yeah.
what I want to get, because
Yeah.
I think, from a compliance and control standpoint, having the applicant then also do the review is probably not the
But-
best practice.
How?
You know,
Who do the review?
well, I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
you,
committed.
well,
Yeah,
well,
that's why-
or you and someone else, if James does the application and he gives himself scores, and then it gets reviewed by staff, should you really be reviewing your own score? Should you be involved in that, or should it be an external, in this case, it's still
So
somebody, it's still
we
somebody.
were three people reviewed it first. I had to meet Charles also. So we reviewed it and then we called him to ask questions. It's the same, like when I send questions to the applicants.
Well, no, if it's you and Charles that did,
Yeah.
if you did,
First, yeah,
if you
that's
and
what I
Charles
did.
are the NERC column and
Yeah.
James was the self column, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that James wasn't involved.
Oh, and the scoring? No.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
all.
he no, he gave the self.
Yeah,
And
okay,
then we did that, Charles, myself and Nathan,
okay,
as, it was like a small internal committee
Yeah.
doing that.
No.
And then after that, we called him, we said,
yeah. No,
that's,
that's,
we have question about that, and,
yeah, no, that's fine, I just, when the name on the application is the same as the name on the reviewer,
yeah.
I just wanna make sure that there's some controls in place to make sure different eyes are doing scores.
Maybe there could be a note on your documentation.
Well, no, as long as we know that the policy, the practice is in place, I'm okay with it, but yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not make,
Yeah, on face first blush, it looks like it's the same. But that's,
But again, I think if this scoring is done the way it's supposed to be done, it should be objective, right? So it either is or it isn't.
well, I think I'm fine with it.
well, but,
It's not a whole lot of discretion. in each case.
well, there must be some discretion if the numbers differ.
Mhm.
If the self numbers and the NERC numbers differ, there's gotta be some discretion here in terms of interpreting whether or not you meet a threshold for points. In this instance, question 12, James gave himself 0, NERC upon its review gave 2. So clearly,
Yeah, the 13.
create groundwork for future implementation, I don't know which of the two,
Yeah.
whether it's,
That's fine.
a
Which one?
future Q12 is the one place where you've added points from what James had originally. The other numbers are all identical.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm just saying, we can,
that's what we're doing, like we work with FTA and doing.
no, I'm not questioning the
Yeah,
number,
yeah.
I'm just responding to the
Responding,
question
but like I
that,
mean,
And I.
that there is some interpretation involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's important to have different eyes do the review of the application.
Yeah, but Jeff gave himself like a 0 and something, and I give him 3 points. So sometimes when you read it, because we understand what we mean by the question, sometimes people, they don't get it.
I'm not questioning the
So
score.
we're fair even with ourselves,
Yeah.
but it's up to you if you feel like
No.
with any question.
No,
that you
no,
give
it
points.
has nothing to do with me questioning the scoring itself, it's just an interpretation of the process
Yeah.
and the need to have, what you do, you have the practice in place to make sure that a different set of NERC staff are reviewing
Yeah.
NERC applications. That's all I wanna make sure of.
I think we're good with the numbers.
Yes, everybody,
We need a motion to-
if, yeah, we
So I
need,
think that's a good suggestion, so maybe if we, apply and this like has to be reviewed by the committee, we can get somebody from the land use committee to sit with us when we review the score to make sure that we think that we are fair enough, and that's why we have it like for open discussion here, if you feel.
yeah,
like
I
we
think
give
that,
it and necessity.
yes, I think that would probably be a good
Good
idea for
idea,
for the external applicants to know that, we're not,
Yeah.
that there's not some inflation going on.
Yes, okay.
And I'm not saying it's even intentional, you've got projects and things that internally you've been working on and thinking about, and so subconsciously there can be the potential to say, oh yeah, well, no, that kind of fits, we can give 2 points there. Where somebody from the committee can sit outside of it and
It's,
Yeah.
like in the end,
we
we
don't
would
really
like,
care.
yeah, in the end, we would like to have like,
Disinterested third party.
Yeah, we are
Yeah.
disinterested in that, we wanna make sure the most qualified applications get funded.
yeah.
Whether it's a NERC project specific, or it's Sherrville, or it's
Somebody to be
UBTC.
objective.
I just, yeah, be a little more objective, so.
It's-
So yeah, I think we should have something where, when these are NERC applications, somebody from one of the
Yeah,
committees
that's-
is present
If
during
it's
the
related to
discussion.
land use committee, we will
Yeah,
get,
right.
a member
Yeah.
from the land use committee, volunteer to,
Yeah,
to sit with us, that's a good
I volunteered,
suggestion.
George.
Yeah.
He's here all the time anyway.
Yeah, that's a mixed thing. So, but in the end, Greg, we try to have the best practice here, and even when I'm discussing that with the, so for us to have like a good scope, to make sure that the end product will be good, and it's really could be implemented. So that's what we're looking for in the end, it's not about points, it's about how to improve the quality of the work. So, to have a good plan.
Okay,
So
so
I'm just
you're-
looking for a motion to approve the
Motion
scoring.
to accept the points as
Okay,
discussed.
motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, are any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Alright. The point allocation for the NERC Transit Planning app is approved. That's the end of those. Alright, meeting calendar. I have a question.
Community updates?
Oh, community updates. Anyone have any updates for us?
I do.
Oh, sorry.
In Union Township, the school corporation is having a meeting to find out the grant money. Maybe Nan, you can tell me more about it. I've been invited to attend. The engineering study is going to be presented for what we refer to as Beaver Lodge near the high school. To improve the water and drainage, which floods the ball fields and that sort of thing. Can you give me an update on that?
For me, I don't have.
You don't know? Okay, well, it's next Tuesday, for those interested. And also, the Willow Creek, which I had mentioned last month was to be in January, that's been pushed to, I think in March, for the first public hearing on the Willow Creek Extension, phase 1. And it'll explain the first 4 phases going down to 30, but the first phase would be 2020, 2022, and
That's 130,
that's to 130 from,
Yeah, from
from 700.
from 700 to 130.
And phase 2 would be a bridge, and there's going to be 3 routes that are going to be proposed, and I still don't know what they're. Portage has a plan, so it may piggyback on their plan. I'm not sure if you have that or not. Anyway, that's,
Is the mayor supporting this project?
the mayor has some issues going on right now, but he would prefer to have a different route, and, I haven't spoken to him for some time, but, Porter County, has, and approval has been made for the money to complete the first phase engineering study, and, the public will be granted an opportunity in Porter County allegedly in March for the, presentation on what the three plans are and get community input.
George,
Yes,
do any of those proposals include swinging over to 625?
say again,
Any of those proposals include swinging over to 625, or is it a totally new?
625, well, 625 is one of them, yes.
Okay.
That's the one I think is most likely.
You're basically,
Yeah, by the landfill. Then
Uh,
Dean's on 130 and 625, which would, and possibly swinging to 675.
Yeah, I mean, I was,
But actually, I haven't been privy to see the actual documents. I only had conversations, and I don't know the answers to that.
Okay.
But Chris Murphy is the engineer who's
Dr. Warren?
started point. And he was there at the meeting Tuesday, and he's gonna be at the meeting again on technical planning, I think.
Any other comments? Moving on then to announcements, I believe the calendar that's the scheduled meeting, I don't believe this is correct.
That's what the suggested here, don't you?
'Cause I thought we had talked about doing the fourth Thursday.
Yeah,
Of
we
the
want
month.
it to be the first before TPC.
But
So-
then there's,
It's
you know,
not
an
gonna
instance like this where we actually are asking David to get information here to then get to TPC. If we had it on the fourth Thursday, there'd be 8 days.
Yeah, that's what I keep, it's up to you, you know, like,
Good.
they said that's the time they give me, I said I will discuss it with the committee, and if you all wanted to have it the last Thursday, that's fine.
Which day is it? Because here it says March 28th, and then the schedule it says.
The agenda
Yeah.
is, it reflects what we had
What we-
originally
what we-
discussed,
what
which was
we
going to be
discussed.
the fourth Thursday of
This is-
every month,
This is draft.
when we had the meetings.
Yeah,
But
that's what they are proposing here, so, yeah,
evidently
we would like
NERC
that.
would prefer it to be the first Thursday, which
Yeah.
is right before TPC, which,
So, you know, like, if you are in agreement to have it the last, or the fourth Thursday of the month, I will take that back to them and say that's what the committee prefers.
Is there a reason why we're focusing on Thursdays?
we had moved it from Wednesday to
I
Thursday.
missed-
Oh, yeah, the last minute, I was gonna have to step down.
Okay.
I've got meetings from 8 to 10.
Please, no.
Yeah, From 8 to 10, I have a meeting 8 to 10 every
Yeah.
Wednesday,
Alright.
and I can't, if it runs over, I can't get here from Valpo for a 10:30
Yeah.
meeting. So then there was discussion about maybe moving it to another day, and Thursday seemed like it was going to work, so.
But will it piggyback on the environmental meeting?
Yeah, but we wanted all the meeting before the TPC,
When does TPC
and the
meet?
same month,
Second
second
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
first Thursday.
So, I mean, yeah, it's just that first, you know, if we have
They
issues.
said that for the next one, because we're gonna have the plan, the draft 2050 plan released April 4th, so we can't have March 28th, you know, and because I have to present, I think, the drafted plan for you, they said we cannot have it before we release it to the public.
Well, if everybody's okay with the first Thursday, hopefully there won't be too many instances
What about
like
the
this.
third Thursday?
Commission.
That's commission. Yeah, that one we can.
Unless it's after the commission.
Excuse me for I'm just trying to tweak it around
No,
my
I-
schedule. I'm being
Yeah.
very selfish, but that's what I do.
Unless it's after.
Because I have planning commission meetings Thursday evenings, and they're always very, every second and fourth Thursday, we have a planning commission meeting, and I run the planning commission. But I should be.
Well, we could do it the first Thursday. We can keep the schedule as it is. It still gives us,
Well,
if there are issues, it still gives people a couple of days to get information in. So we can stick to the first Thursday. So the schedule, the next meeting will be April 4th, and then we have a meeting in first Thursday in June and the first Thursday of October, scheduled.
and that'll be at 10 or 10:30?
I didn't put anybody out by doing that, did I?
No.
I just want to make sure.
And now they would like to reduce the number of meetings, that's now the policy here at NERC. So we will have 4 meetings a year instead of 6. We used to have like between 5 or 6. So now they wanted 4 meetings, and so we're doing all over with all the other committees.
EMPC is the first Thursday, but conceivably they would be done by 10.
Yeah.
They're still going.
Yeah, well, that's because I don't know.
Good thing y'all said no to me, go church.
All right. If there's no other business, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
We're adjourned.